we talked a little bit before the panel, and I think Starship Troopers is such an interesting IP to look at because you couldn't look, I didn't even know at the time that you could look at it and go, oh, there's commercial success in this thing. But it has maintained such a strong cult popularity from the comics to the big screen. And even when you rewatch that film now, like, the effects still hold up, the story is still great, and the comedic elements along with the gore, they work so magically well together. What have you loved about Starship Troopers?
I love that we're going back watching it 20 years later, the comedic part of it is increased. I started laughing at parts that weren't meant to be funny, but looking back 20 years. But it is a great film, and I see why it has such a strong following. It really is, because when we posted that I was going to be here, I got emails about Starship Troopers. What issues did you work on? And I was like, great, okay. So I didn't know there was an interest in Starship Troopers, so I wasn't going to bring anything Starship Troopers. I'm glad I did, because a few people came out here specifically for Starship Troopers.
It really does hold a strong cult popularity even today, and I think a lot of properties from that era, like their popularity was cult, and now with this kind of the Comic-Con boom that started in the early 2000s, like those cult popularities have become pop culture popularities. It's really unbelievable.
Yeah, I'll be honest, now it's considered pop culture, where back then even anime back then, a lot of it was kind of our secret little club that nobody really wanted to talk about or admit that we were.
I joined the AV Tech crew in high school with zero technical knowledge, but that's where my people were, where I could talk about comics and Star Wars and Star Trek, right? Like we had to hide our comics inside the social studies books in the quad, right? Like,
you talk technical stuff, but you can talk about the
Sure, but now, as I like to say, the geek have inherited the earth.
yeah, I think so.
It's an amazing time.
Yeah, I had the opportunity of drawing on other people's covers, and we were the book covers that you had back in the day. You used to carry around books back then, by the way, and they were these paper covers. This butter crust cover, and then you would flip it the reverse, and it was a nice blank slate, and then you would go in there and just draw your Metallica, and you draw your different varieties of stuff. Calvin and Hobbes at the time was the thing.
Do that little Metallica guy on everything.
Yeah. So metal church is a big thing, and so all of that. I have my own little club of I'll draw it on your cover and we'll hang out somewhere, and everybody will be cool. Not really, but yeah.
I wish I had started drawing back then, because then maybe I could have made that $4,000. But I actually didn't start drawing until I was 19 years old. That Wolverine was one of the first things I ever drew. I really claimed that I could draw, but I never did it. And so I got challenged to do it, and I found out, I can do this.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Of all of those properties that you've had a chance to work on, do you have a favorite?
Yeah. I shouldn't say this because I work with editors. When you work with editors, you're pro Marvel, you're pro DC. You love everything.
You're on record, my friend.
So
have you heard of viral videos? I just want to make sure.
So by a video you like one, you might be blacklisted on the other one. But Batman, definitely. Working on Batman with artist David Finch was.
I think if you had said Batman or Spider-Man, you get a free pass from the editor group.
Yeah,
right?
Hopefully they'll understand. Batman's just, how can you not like Batman?
I mean, yeah, right. It's one of the biggest. It's hard to. In today's MCU-dominated world, it's almost hard to think of what the most influential comic characters were, particularly with, I can say it, DC's films haven't really, hit the mark. But Batman really was, I think kind of the biggest.
Oh, with Michael Keaton, the Michael Keaton 80s Batman.
Are you guys ready for that tomorrow? Keaton's going to be on this very stage tomorrow. So that's gonna be,
There's gonna be only this many people too.
Right. So each one of you, I'll actually be conducting that as well. So if you have a question for Keaton, let me know. But no, Batman is incredible, right?
Yeah, Batman I think was amazing because he could be any man. There were no superpowers. He was just intelligent, and we all have unlimited wealth, just like Batman. So we could easily be Batman. A Batman would usually, like 3 million? No problem. I'll buy 2.
Well, so the thing, I love that element. That's what I always loved about Batman was that you can't relate to Bruce Wayne, the billionaire, but you can relate to the guy with a chip on his shoulder that, you know, wants to stop other people from that which befell him. And that's something that we all could think about, you know, relating to. And what I think they lost in, let's say, the Nolan films was that element of great detective.
Yeah.
But that's really where his roots are, and you stay true to that in the comic books.
Yeah.
And I think that's the element where anyone with the drive, you know, could figure those things out and be a person that stops crime and does justice, right?
Yeah, and I love how, you know, the name of each villain just tells you exactly what they do, you know, who they are. So the Riddler tells you riddles, you know, the Joker is just insane, tells you jokes, you know. That was amazing, you know.
So Juan Carlos, you've worked on some things like the variant cards for Star Wars and Lord of the Rings. I mean, those are.
Man, you know a lot of stuff about it.
I can take 30 minutes on my iPhone. We'll get as prepared as possible.
I do want to touch on one thing about Batman, though, because I love it.
Absolutely, we can talk Batman the rest of the time.
One thing before we jump into that, the only thing I'll say is like we're living in an era now where like if you really want to be a hero, you can. And if you don't believe me, go YouTube people who want to be Batman, and you'll see people building armor, gadgets. I can't wait till we actually have heroes that are walking through, and we're going to be doing comics of those heroes, and they're going to have their own name, and they're going to be doing their own thing. Just like it's so like funny because like if you think about it, when I was a kid,
kind of like Kick-Ass a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. So like if you remember like Star Wars or even Star Trek, where you're like you see Captain Kirk talking to whoever the other opponent was, and you're like nobody's ever going to be able to talk to themselves watching a video of doing this. Everybody talked on the phone, on this old, you know, clunky rotary phone, and then now we can do that for real. So like think about it, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, we're already doing this. At some point, you're going to have a hero walking through your city, protecting your world, and it's going to be real. Can you believe that? I'm just astounded by that.
I've seen YouTube videos like people working on a cap shield that's magnetic that they can like, you know, throw and like it is incredible the amount of just talent that's out there and ways that you can learn things. The University of YouTube, if you will, like you can learn kind of anything.
Oh, I'm waiting for the Wolverine claws, so I'll be the big hit at the barbecue, just come off everything.
And you know what's funny is that because, you know, as you acquire these technologies, as you acquire these things that you learn, you're also going to have people who say, well, what evils can I do with these things? And so you're going to have the opponents as well. So just, yeah, I'm just excited about it. I know it sounds bad and it sounds good, but I like the direction that it's going. It's going to be real at some point. But anyway, sorry, enough about that.
Some of the kids might be superheroes in training.
Yeah,
the parents don't want me to suggest that, but you know.
Speaking of Batman, are we able to mention the
Yeah, we actually have a really, really cool giveaway. So this is an original art piece, right? And this became a very famous statue, right? So tell us a little bit about making this and where, like, how close to the original this is.
Yeah, actually, artist David Finch, who's a superstar artist, you know, he's been in the industry for a very long time. He and I became good friends, and he asked me, would you be interested in working with me? I'm going to design an art piece that's going to become a statue through XM Studios. And the statue sold out right away. They took pre-orders on it, it sold out. The statue is about $3,000 retail. And it stands, I think, 2.5 feet tall, and it's got all the villains. So I was super excited to work with Dave on it and ink it. The original was purchased by XM Studios, which went for thousands of dollars. And so I made a print of the original on the exact same Bristol board that I inked him on. So this is the closest you can get to owning the original without having to pay $7,000 for the original that the company in China paid for it.
So you wanted some Batman trivia. I have some Batman trivia here. So I'll ask a question.
Wait. If I answer it, do I?
Well, I mean, you know, it's you have the 4,000 to buy that. Okay. These are decent. I think they're decently difficult questions. So Batman made his debut in Detective Comics number 27, right? That's the first appearance of Batman. What other member of the Bat family makes an appearance in that comic book?
Alfred.
Incorrect. Incorrect. It is Commissioner Gordon. So I will move to the next question. Pre-New 52, there were 5 Robins. Who thinks they can name the 5 Robins? What a sigh out there that was. Oh gosh.
I don't even know that one. I work on Batman.
Not in the form of Red Hood.
I mean, I thought the question.
Anyone can name the 5 Robins? No.
Or we can ask.
Thinking over there, he's counting.
Yeah, he's counting over there.
Give it a shot. We can count as you go. All right, you hold on. You raise your hand. You got it?
He's got 3.
Nightwing, Batman Beyond, Robin, and I don't know the other 2.
Okay. The character names. So like,
What's the character name?
we know we all know Dick Grayson. I can give you that one. So other than Dick, 4 more.
I think we have someone else over here.
Who's got it?
What's the billion name?
Hmm?
Okay, nobody's raising their hand. You want to redo it? You want to re-say what it was? It
Yeah.
was Nightwing.
Nightwing, Robin, Batman Beyond.
So,
I got those.
okay, so the answers we're looking for, the 5 Robins, they were Dick Grayson, Jason Todd, Tim Drake, Stephanie Brown, and Damian Wayne. Damian Wayne, all right. Stephanie Brown's the hard one, I think.
Yeah.
That's the hard one. Okay, let's see. I just need someone to, let's see here. Who's the only Robin to use guns continuously? I saw a hand right there in the glasses. Jason Todd's the winner!
Congratulations.
Right there. So afterwards you can come up.
If you come by my table, I'll autograph it for you if you like.
There you go.
Nice.
Okay, so you went back to Batman, but I wanted to ask you about.
Let's go back to that.
Lord of the Rings and Star Wars. Lord of the Rings, those are similarly some really awesome things that you probably enjoyed growing up that you got to work on. What was that like?
So it was really, really good. Lord of the Rings was kind of the secondary one that came after the fact, but my biggest break was Star Wars, and it was very, very odd. And I'll just tell the story of how I started in that era, or in that industry. A buddy of mine, her name's Kat Staggs. She used to be
Very familiar with her awesome work.
Yeah, she used to be here in San Antonio, and she used to work with Star Wars all the time. And she told me they were looking for artists. And if you know Kat Staggs' work, it's very realistic, very, very photographic, almost realism. And she was telling me they had this gig, and I said, okay, I don't think they're gonna want my stuff because I'm more just comic booky, stylistic, very, random looking work. And she's like, no, I know that they'll love your work, you just gotta submit it. And so I submitted it. This was for Revenge of the Sith at the time. And I submitted my work. I didn't hear from them for like 2 weeks, and then she said, hey, did you get a package yet? I was like, no, I haven't heard from them. She's like, call them up and find out. I was like, I don't want to do that. I always get I get antsy, they're probably not interested. I'd rather them tell me like, hey, no, on their own, than me be like, hey, can I get the job? So anyway, she just told me, she convinced me, just contact them an email. I sent them an email, and he said, hey, we're just getting approval right now from George Lucas and somebody else, I forget who else, and once they approve all this stuff, then you'll get a package. Well, and I was like, oh, okay, cool, right now they're in the process. Well, 2 days later, I had a package waiting at my house with the contract, the project already in hand, and you have less than a month to complete all this work. And I was like, okay, now it's real. And so I'm there reading a contract that is literally man, do you ever read these contracts? It's ridiculous, 20 pages long.
I somehow 3 paragraphs in.
Exactly, I kind of skipped over, do I get sued at any point in time? Does anything make sense that I'm not going to do wrong? And I just signed it, filled it out, turned it in, and that's where I got my first start. And after that, it was really, really fun. I enjoyed it. I did it for about 5 years.
For Star Wars?
So Revenge of the Sith, they give you a list of people, and they send you a PDF of all these characters, and this was before the movie comes out. So you're looking at characters that you have no idea who they were, besides Anakin Skywalker, and then some other people, and at the time you're just kind of like, oh, okay, this is cool. So I got to work on that. I got to work on Lord of the Rings when that came out, and then Transformers. I got to see Michael Bay Transformers before anybody saw those designs, and I'll just leave it at that. And I got to work on those.
As a fan of worms, if we want to go into Transformers and Michael Bay.
But And it was awesome. So yeah, so that was the one thing that I was like, that was the one stipulation in all those contracts is that you can't share any of those images. Obviously, you'll get sued, blah, blah, blah. But I was like, I got to see this before anybody did. I was like, yes. And then whenever you see that, yeah, I saw that.
That's pretty
So
awesome.
that was fun.
That's actually really
So a couple of things from that. So do you have a favorite of the Transformers films?
The latest Bumblebee is my favorite.
Hands down.
You know, it is an homage to G1 and all the 1980s, and here we go again with the same subject again. But yeah, 1980s, that's kind of what.
That opening 5 minutes was everything I wanted from the first time I heard that it was going to be a film. It was like,
I could have just watched those 5 minutes and say, hey, can you rewind it and watch it again? Yes. And then I'll go and I watch the movie. I'm good.
I like that they brought in some of the characters from the movie that was animated in the 80s. They brought in that female pink Transformer.
RC.
Oh, okay, well, I didn't know that.
I love me some Transformers. All
Right.
There's actually, so you like 80s rock, there's a great band up in Canada called Cybertronics Free. And they dress up, and the lead singer is RC, and I think the guitar player is Hot Rod Rodimus. It's fantastic.
It's really, really good.
I do Comic-Con after parties, and if it wasn't just so expensive to fly a band from Canada, I would have those guys. They're amazing. Should definitely, they're awesome.
I saw them. They're really good.
So you also worked on Lord of the Rings, and as a fan, like, I mean, I don't know, I grew up reading those books, and that was like, that created fantasy, and everything fantasy kind of went back to that, right? And then to see that on the big screen was just incredible, and then when they finally got like all of the love and all the awards for the third one, I felt as a fan like validated, right?
It's good. Everybody knows it now.
Right. It's tremendous storytelling. It's tremendous relationships that are built, and these emotional rides that you go through. And I just thought it was awesome. Were you a Lord of the Rings fan before you got that, or did you come to it from that job?
His bumper sticker says,
I'm gonna say no, but what I will say is that my wife kind of got me into it, and she did like, I know she's gonna get mad at me. She cried when Sam was the one guy that like helped. And then all that, and so I was like, okay, well this is good. Now as far as the imagery and the dragons and like all the different elements of like, I guess for me that's kind of what drew me. Like a lot of the medieval stuff is what kind of got me.
A lot of the '80s kind of metal and punk.
Exactly.
Like,
so that album,
their covers from fantasy, right?
Pretty much. And so that's kind of where it got me. Like, okay, I can dig this. I like this.
Zeppelin and Rush might as well have hired Tolkien to write for them.
Exactly. So yeah, that's kind of how I went. Now as far as me liking everything about Lord of the Rings, I don't think I'm so well attuned to that as I am like Star Wars and Transformers. But that's in all honesty. But yeah, but I have an affinity for it for sure.
Because I got other questions, but I wanted to see if anyone in the audience has questions. Because you guys have hung with us the whole time, which is super awesome. We love and appreciate that. Does anyone have a question? With the hat right there, did you have? Looked like you were shooting your hand. No? Okay, I'll go to my next one. Jimmy, you worked on Avengers, right? Avengers was known, but like in the going into the pre-MCU world, right? Like Spider-Man basically and the X-Men were Marvel, and the Avengers is now like just this worldwide behemoth of an entity. Like I don't know, just what do you think made the Avengers something that people took to?
To be honest, I think I like the way they started the Avengers. They started the Avengers because it wasn't known as widely as X-Men, so they went back and had to tell the story, had to build these characters up, and they didn't assume that you knew who the Avengers were. And I think by doing that, they were able to bring in people like myself who knew nothing about the Avengers. I just knew Spider-Man and X-Men, and I was able to go in and learn a whole lot about it. And so I think that was the success of the whole franchise for Avengers.
Is there any, for either of you guys, is there a dream IP that either of you would love to work on in the future? I mean, you guys have some heavy hitters already notched on the belt, but what is something you haven't worked on?
I came into comics in the 90s, so there was a company called Wildstorm, And I used to live next door to some of the guys from Wildstorm, so I'd go over to their house and watch them work. Mike Miller and Salim Crawford, they were working for Wildstorm at the time, and they taught me a lot about Wildstorm. So they introduced me to all these characters in Wildstorm that when DC purchased Wildstorm, they don't really use these characters anymore. They're kind of just sitting on the shelf. I would love to go back to the 90s characters and love to work on the Wildstorm characters that were from the 1990s, which aren't very well known, but like Wildcats and stuff like that.
Which, just because they weren't well known or now, it doesn't mean that they couldn't kind of reboot, become something. Because let's be honest, who had ever heard of the Guardians of the Galaxy before 2014? Let's be real, right?
Oh, we got one. Yeah.
2 or 3 people in the room, and this happens everywhere I go. And they are household names now, right? Because there were great stories there. They just didn't, sometimes it's luck, sometimes it's, kind of when things come out, there's a right time and place. And, Wildstorm could probably pop now.
Yeah, there was, if anyone's military or into like Call of Duty or anything, there was a comic book called Team 7 about a group of military that were sent into a jungle who are exposed to some type of experiment, and then they gain these like psychic powers, kind of like a rip-off Firestarter. Their nose will bleed when they use their powers and stuff like that. I love that book. I fell in love with it. Not so much that I wanted to join the military, but my friend did. My friend that introduced me to comics, he loved it so much, he went off to the army.
Hardcore.
He's hardcore, yeah.
Did he ever find the psychic powers?
Oh, no, unfortunately. But he came back married. So, yeah, he found a villain. So, I'm just kidding. His wife's great.
It's a psychic, not psychotic.
So the only two that if you're asking me to say,
Yeah. Which
only
Dream
two.
IP?
Okay, Dream IP, Marvel's Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
Because Mark Texerio back in the day was like making this character that is just dark. It was like, if you read the issues, you'll see that there's a serial killer out there, and Ghost Rider's out to hunt them down, and it's very, very, in that era at that time, was really catchy. And then there was this one cover that he did. It was a glow-in-the-dark cover of Ghost Rider, and it was just a head. And I kept that for the longest time. I still have that, and that kind of drove me there. Second one that's very, very popular, like you were saying at the time, Spawn. If you go to my banner right now, you'll see Spawn directly centered in my. This was before 300 was a big deal right now, and 301 is a bigger deal now with World Guinness. Spawn's been on my banner for like the last 2 years at least, and he's one of my favorites. I always go back to that. I love Spawn, I always did. Anybody knows Todd McFarlane out there and wants me to do a cover, pitch him and say, hey, go check out one of Carl's work. Because I would really, really would love to do anything Spawn. That would be awesome.
When the film came out, it didn't like super work at the time, but I feel like they keep talking about they're going to do one, or it's been in pre-production like forever. I'll believe it when there's like a poster that it's going to come out, right? Because then they're putting one in the advertising budget. But what do you think would make Spawn work today? What could they do to make that work?
Well, in hearing Todd McFarlane talk in the interviews, it sounds right. They're using a lot of I think what is it, Blumhouse?
Mm-hmm.
I think that'll help it work. That'll escalate because it's going in the same genre of all the popularity of Insidious and
much more the horror side.
Yeah, it's much more the horror side. So if we can actually go into that genre and accept the fact that there's a case in point, Brightburn is an excellent example. I was at Halloween, by the way. Anyway, Brightburn is a good, essential way of saying, look, Brightburn works, and this is why Brightburn works. We can put Spawn in there and still make him a hero, still make it horror, and still make it work. So
I'd love to see the Brightburn world expanded out, right? That little bit at the end with Rooker on the news, I'd like to see all of that. I think that would be super, super cool.
Brightburn 2.
Yes. Very cool. So, Jimmy, you do some YouTube tutorials, right? Jimmy Reyes Art, if you go on YouTube. And I think we might have, guys, do we have a video ready to go? I think you can look right here. If you go to Jimmy's YouTube, you can learn how to do, drawing and inking and whatnot, and see technique and kind of learn that. So is there anyone in the audience that has aspirations of going into comic books? Anyone? Kids? Yeah. All right.
Well, good. It's good for you guys. We don't want to get into comics. Don't do it.
But that's really cool. So you see the work as it's being done and where you're adding, texture or just different enhancing elements.
That's actually Charlie's Angels #1. They rebooted I believe there had never been a Charlie's Angels comic book in America, is what I was told. And they asked me if I wanted to do the cover, and I was really excited because I get to work with Dave Finch again, who I mentioned that he's a really nice guy, so any chance I get to work with him, I jump at it. And Charlie's Angels, I liked that it was going back retro again. It was going back to the original Angels from the 70s, and I grew up watching them alongside with my mom. My mom was really into the Charlie's Angels thing, and she'd make me, watch that. And I'm like, no, put on G.I. Joe. But, I had to watch Charlie's Angels with her. And so, going back to the originals, I thought it was really great. Although there was news of a movie coming out, which came out today, and we knew this back then when we worked on the comic last year that the movie was going to be coming out. I don't know why they didn't really go new. They stuck with the original. I think for the fans, I think is what they did. But it was a lot of fun. If you look up on the screen there, it's actual pencils that are penciled onto a artboard that's 11 by 17, and it's called Bristol board. And it's the exact same board that this Batman is printed on, that exact same artboard that I actually inked David on. So I get to ink directly over his pencils with India ink, so there's very little room for error. If you mess up, there's only whiteout, and whiteout doesn't really cover everything. So along the way, you learn different tricks to use X-Acto blades and razors and stuff like that to scrape through the board to hide your mistakes. But you really, you have to have confidence when you're playing with ink. It's kind of like a tattoo artist. You definitely want a tattoo artist who's got the confidence in what he's doing. It's the same thing with an inker. You don't want the inker to ink, mom with 2 O's in it or something, But yeah,
It's a lot of pressure.
It is. It's a lot of pressure, and your editor is always like, it's due yesterday. It's due yesterday. Where's the cover? Where's the cover? So luckily the editor I worked with here, Matt Iveson, he was a really nice guy. They gave me 3 days to work on it, which was good. It took me 1 day to do it, but so I had that extra time. I could do extra little details and things with it. But working in the industry, it's good that you guys don't want to work in the industry. They will tell you, imagine they micromanage you sometimes, and it's pretty tough. You have deadlines.
For the benefit of the person that is recording, and so that this information will disseminate for people that are outside of this room, my last question to each of you guys is, what advice would you give to somebody that is starting out with aspirations of getting into the comic industry?
Well, it's different today than it was back in the 90s when I got in. We didn't have the internet, so social network is really important. The key thing is to be very personable, be professional, and people give work to people they like to work with, who are pleasant. So you want to be pleasant. You always want to say yes. When the editor is like, can you do this in 3 days? Make certain before you say yes that absolutely you can do it in those 3 days. And do it. Get it done in those 3 days. And just continue to network. Show your work out there to everyone. Go to conventions, put your stuff out on conventions, and get the exposure. And it will, you'll get to the point where you will get work.
I'll have to agree with Jimmy. The only extra thing I would say is discipline is really important. So a lot of artists, that's one of the things that we all lack, myself included. Discipline is kind of the hardest thing you can achieve because you have to, again, commit to deadlines, build your reputation, build your work enough to actually put in the time to actually get better at what you do. The other thing I'll add to that is you have to learn the business. And I learned it at a young age because I figured that's the best way I can get an artist to understand, if the company's going to go to tell you, we're going to give you a small percentage of this big amount of money that we're going to make, I don't necessarily agree with that. And the only reason why I say that is because nobody's buying the product because somebody else is making it. Your work is on it. So I want you to understand that any aspiring artists out there, please do not work for promotion, do not work for, free press or anything like that. Your work is your time.
Exposure doesn't pay the bills.
Exposure does not pay the bills. So I would say, as a business person, start thinking about business, start thinking about yourself as a business. and make yourself an artist who can actually get paid for what the time that they put into the work.
That's true. That's actually a really good point, because you do have to be part salesman. You know, I'm very personable, I'm not shy at all, so for me, I'm comfortable talking to people. So for me, going out and networking isn't very difficult for me, but most artists are introverts. A lot of us are inside and we don't get out. A lot of us don't even watch TV. You know, we're on the drafting table and it takes about 14 hours a day to finish a page. So for me, I like to get out, I like to do stuff, and that's where the discipline comes in that Ramos here mentioned, was that the thing is, your friends are going to come to you, hey, let's go watch, you know, the new Spawn movie, you know, let's go, let's go do this, let's go do that. And there's always distractions, but anybody who works at home, no matter what business you're in, you do have to be disciplined. You have to set schedules. You do have to make sure that you're there doing the work, because meeting your deadline is the most important thing in the industry.
Very cool. Awesome. Unless we have any last questions, anyone wants to, oh, we do have one. We got one, and then that'll be Ben. What's your question there?
Can I use the microphone?
Oh, sure.
Alright. That's why we got it, right? Okay.
You're on mic.
Hey, Lord of Thunder.
Anyways, my question is, what is one of the main things that artists struggle on that big companies could help them with, that is original and different, that they should do, that they're not doing?
Kind of how can the bigger, what is something that artists struggle with that the bigger companies could give them a push with?
When it comes to technique, the companies isn't going to spend any time working with technique. They only work with artists who have established that they're dependable. They want to make sure that the work's going to get done. Editors, a lot of times I got in because I had somebody vouch for me and said, I've worked with him before, he's good. Because editors have publishers on them, they have other people that are hounding them, and their neck is on the line. So they're not going to help you with anything as far as technique, but I think the thing that publishers should do to help us is a little bit of the business side, is to help us. You know, because when I work, I get a voucher from my editor. My editor says, here, fill out this W-2 form, you know, it's W-4 form or something. Here's a voucher, fill it out, and your voucher is your invoice that you send back. And they don't give you any instructions at all. They just send you this paperwork assuming that you're going to know how to do it and know what to do with it. You know, and I think a little more instruction, maybe that would be helpful.
For me, as far as like, I'm a project artist, not necessarily a comic book artist, and so for me, it's assigning the work to myself and knowing that if I'm going to do something specific based on what they're asking me for, then I have to know that technique right off the bat. That's for me. When I don't know how to do something, then I won't commit to it. So essentially, when you're asking like, what can they do to help you get better at your technique, I would say reach out to people who are fellow peers, other people who do like you were saying, you went with Finch to help you, guide you, mentor you. Find a mentor who you look up to, who you're inspired to work with. Be friends with them. Start learning what they learn. Learn from everybody. Learn from everybody. I like to give any free information to any artist. I want all people to be creative. I want everybody to learn something. I want everything to grow. I never want to not share any of the work. In fact, I want everybody to know how to do it, because if you really want to do it, you really want to get better at it, that's the only way you're going to learn. Somebody is going to show you how to do something. And then at the same time, like, you know, I can tell you all the different things that I know how to do. And for you, what I would like for anybody to do is just take 10% of whatever that person showed you, put it into your work, and include it as like a piece of the puzzle of like whatever your particular work is. You know, that's usually how you become original, or how you stand out from the crowd. If you start copying the same exact technique from somebody else, then you're going to be a replica of somebody else's work. What you want to do is take pieces and components and then combine them and make your work individual to you.
Yeah, there's a saying that if you copy one person, then you're a clone, but if you copy many people, then you're original.
Yeah, there's no original out there. It's pieces and components of every iteration of work.
I think the point about mentorship is well taken, because I think some people can get into their own talent too much. And the most successful people did not do everything on their own. Every really successful person had a mentor that helped them along. So being open to that, I think, is a great point.
Did we answer your question?
Yes.
Is that okay?
Can I ask one more?
Sure.
All right. one more, and then I'll let someone else go whoever wants to go on. Because my thing is I want to start a business to help out artists like yourselves. But the thing is I can figure out the problems of what these companies are not doing, that I can fill it in to help out, you guys out. So it can be different and original, and to actually help out the scene. You know what I mean? But that's what I'm trying to figure out from artists and from a business standpoint.
I think just conversations, have as many conversations with as many artists as possible, is going to get you kind of where you need to go. You'll start to figure things out. And good luck.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
Awesome. Well, cool. Thank you guys all so much for being here, and thank you guys for being a part of this panel. And you guys both have tables that they can go see you at, correct?
Yeah.
So you guys can definitely check them out. Check out their work at their tables. And the gentleman that won the art print, come on down. And that's it. Thank you guys. Thank you guys so much.